Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaskar. You have stepped into a course that is going to change the way that you look at data. Not just how you analyze it, but also how you communicate it. My name is Nivid Desai. I serve as the Program Executive at Writing Studio IIT Gandhinagar. Welcome to Writing for Data Science. This course is at the intersection of analysis and communication. As all of us know, data analysis is not just about coding and models. It is about solving real-world problems. And that is exactly why every single thought that goes into solving those problems needs to be communicated. And not just to one audience, across multiple stakeholders. That is where this course comes in. This course prepares you with the foundations of writing, especially curated for data science. We will discuss audience analysis, critical thinking, logical reasoning, as well as storytelling that is native to data science. So join me on a journey at the intersection of numbers and narratives. I'll see you in class. Namaste, hello and welcome to Writing for Data Science. My name is Nivid Desai and we are on a journey to explore the interesting intersections between numbers and narratives. In this module so far, we have been looking at the dynamics of technical and non-technical audiences. We looked at how to tailor messages according to their preferences of both the message and the medium. In the last lecture, we did something quite interesting. We took a leap into a different direction. We saw both technical and non-technical audiences not only as readers, but also as stakeholders, thinking about their role and function within an organization. In that exercise, we tried to estimate what their concerns may be, what they may care about, and accordingly, how can we optimize our message to address those concerns? I hope that that kind of an exercise has made our intuition about tailoring our message for technical and non-technical audiences much stronger. So far, we've been talking about structure. We've been talking about the process of writing. Today onwards, let's start focusing on the content, the product of writing. Content in terms of its quality, content in terms of its design, and the kind of standard that we must hold ourselves up to when it comes to assessing the quality of our content. Today, we are going to focus on three key components when it comes to the qualitative aspects of our content: clarity, conciseness, and precision. We will go deep into all three of them, look at examples, and try to understand how to enhance these qualities in our written content. Before we begin, let's try to first understand what do we mean by these terms. Let's try to define them and establish a common understanding. Clarity ensures that the purpose, methodology, and insights of a document are easily understood, avoiding any kind of ambiguity or misinterpretation. The key goal of clarity is to minimize miscommunication as an end result. Then comes conciseness. Conciseness removes redundancy, allowing key messages to stand out without overwhelming the reader. Then comes precision. Precision provides accurate and specific information, reinforcing credibility and preventing errors in interpretation. Precision is extremely important, especially when we talk about data science communication. In the technical as well as non technical realms. As always, we will begin our conversation by asking a very basic question and a very necessary one. What is the need? Clear, concise, and precise writing helps bridge the gap between data science and real world applications. These qualities ensure that technical and non technical audiences understand the findings and make informed decisions. For example, imagine writing a data science report on customer churn. If your writing is unclear, the audience may misunderstand the cause of churn. If it's wordy, decision makers may lose interest. If it is imprecise, they may take the wrong action. And I know all of us understand the cost of wrong actions, the cost of errors when it comes to decision making, particularly from data driven insights. Before we move forward, here is a little reflection for you. Think about a time when unclear or lengthy writing confused you. What was the impact? What did you feel? Remembering that moment will also cement the need, the requirement of clarity, conciseness, and precision in our writing practice. Think about it for a moment, will you? I'll get back to you with further comments first on clarity. Let's start exploring all these three components in much more detail. Clarity. Let's try to define it. Clarity means making your writing easily understandable. It involves logical organization, avoiding ambiguity, and structuring sentences effectively. So, what do? You use simple, direct language instead of complex jargon, unless it is necessary. This is something that we have discussed much earlier in this module as well. I would like you to remember the foundations, the strategies, and the approaches that we discussed at the beginning of this module, which resonated with the same idea. You say what you want to say without obscuring the message with any kind of jargon, unless it is necessary. Then you organize your information logically using headings and structured paragraphs so that your reader can navigate through your piece of writing in a much more accessible manner. And in the end, you avoid any kind of ambiguous phrasing that can lead to multiple interpretations. The point of technical writing is that there should be no multiple interpretations. If you and I cannot agree on the meaning of what is written on the page, then our implementation, our application, our understanding of policy, all of this can go for a toss. So, our writing should be without any kind of ambiguity and it should avoid any multiple interpretations. Here are some techniques that can help you enhance clarity. First of all, eliminate redundant words. Avoid unnecessary phrasing like in order to, which can often be replaced with just to. Summarize findings. in executive summaries or recommendations, distill the lengthy findings into brief, impactful statements. Limit technical details for non technical audiences. Avoid overwhelming non technical readers with excessive methodology or technical jargon. Focus instead on what they need to know. Their independent portfolios, their independent profiles would come with their own set of concerns, as we have discussed previously. So, increasing that intuition will help us tailor that message a lot more effectively. Here's an example. An unclear piece of writing would look something like this. The dataset was pre processed in multiple ways to ensure accuracy. If you see, there is no clarity about what are these multiple ways. And ensure accuracy is a very vague claim. So, if we make it clear, we clean missing values and standardized numerical features to improve model accuracy. This right here is a much more clearer phrasing. If I take you to an example for technical versus non-technical audiences, this is what it can project. For technical audiences, something like we applied PCA to reduce dimensionality and retained 95% variance is clear enough in terms of technicality. However, for a non-technical audience, clarity may look something like we simplified our dataset to make it easier to analyze while keeping 95% of the important information. This right here is still clear, but devoid of any jargon wherever it is unnecessary. Here's a quick exercise for you. Rewrite this unclear sentence for better clarity. The analysis includes several different methods that attempt to show patterns in the data. We have practiced looking for ambiguity in the previous example, so I would ask you to apply the same structure to detect ambiguity in this sentence. Afterwards, you can rewrite this for better clarity and enhanced understanding. Next up, our second feature for the day is conciseness. Conciseness means delivering information in as few words as necessary while maintaining meaning. Mahatma Gandhi once spoke about the economy of words. This is exactly what he was referring to. It eliminates redundancy and unnecessary details. So, what do? As I discussed, we remove redundant words. For example, future predictions can turn into just predictions. The future is implied within predictions. You don't need to mention that separately. That is redundancy. Remove that, and your writing becomes more concise. Then you avoid filler phrases. For example, you don't need to write, "It is important to note that." Arrive straight at the point. If the point itself is strong enough, people will take note of it. Here's an interesting suggestion that I personally prefer. Use active voice to make sentences shorter and stronger. Active voice denotes agency. As the name suggests, it denotes action. And generally, it occupies less space, fewer words as compared to passive voice. That is why active voice can directly contribute to the conciseness of your writing. Here are some techniques to practice conciseness. First of all, define the terms and concepts. Clearly explain technical jargon or concepts, particularly for non-technical audiences. For example, instead of dimensionality reduction, explain it as simplifying data by reducing the number of variables so that every time you use that word again, your audience understands exactly what you mean. You don't need to explain it over and over again. Then, organize your information logically. Follow a logical sequence, starting with the problem, moving to methods, and ending with insights. You can also use headings and subheadings to create clear sections. It can help you leave out the redundant information and only keep the thematically coherent information in a single thread of logic. You can also use visual aids. In reports or presentations, use charts and graphs with clear labels and legends. Provide brief descriptions of the visual aid to reinforce their meaning. Here's an example for you. For conciseness, the first non-concise example would be a wordy sentence. Here's a wordy one. In order to analyze the data set effectively, we conducted a thorough pre-processing step. If we optimize this for conciseness, it can just be explained in these many words. We pre-processed the data set for analysis. If you notice, this sentence is also in active voice. That's exactly what I mean. Active voice helps us avoid redundancy and saves us word count. It makes our writing concise by design. Let's take an example for how conciseness might look on a report versus a dashboard. These are the mediums of communication that we have already learned. Let's look at a report. A concise summary of a report would be like, our model achieved an accuracy rate of 92%, improving churn prediction by 20%. Once again, an active voice sentence. And a dashboard headline metric would be 92% prediction accuracy. No nonsense, no filler words, no fluff. As clear, as precise, as concise as it can be. Here's a little exercise for you. Shorten this sentence without losing its meaning. Due to the fact that the model showed low performance, we decided to retrain it with additional data. Remember, we have discussed the heuristics for how to make a sentence concise. Look for those clues in this sentence, there are many, and turn that into a shorter sentence without losing the meaning. I will come back to you with the final comments on precision. Let's look at the final component in our discussion today. Precision. Precision means being exact and specific. In data science, precision is crucial to avoid misinterpretation of findings. As we have discussed at the beginning of this lecture, all of us understand the cost of misinterpretation, mistakes, and errors when it comes to miscommunicating data findings. Here's what we can do. We can use specific numbers instead of vague terms. For example, the model achieved 92% accuracy is more precise than just saying high accuracy. You can define key terms clearly, especially for mixed audience reports, because that is when you will be dealing with both technical and non-technical audiences at the same time. They would need to know for sure at every moment what do you mean when you use a certain term, especially in a technical sense. Avoid overgeneralizations because overgeneralizations tend to make mistakes of casting a wide net and not necessarily taking precision into account. How do you do that? You do that by being data driven. Cite data, quote data, and become as numbers oriented as possible so that numbers become a part of your language, not overgeneralized blanket statements. Here are some techniques. Like I said, make numbers a part of your language. Use specific metrics and values. Instead of saying increased significantly, you can provide the exact figures. For example, increased by 15%. That's measurable. That's accountable. Next one, you can state the methodology clearly. How did you arrive at this conclusion? Specify the type of analysis or the model that is being used, such as logistic regression, instead of just saying analysis, so that your reader knows exactly how you have arrived at this conclusion. As I said, avoid overgeneralization. Don't use sweeping statements like the model is always accurate. Instead, qualify with specific metrics like the model achieved 92% accuracy on test data. That one number can give you exactly the extent of quantification as far as your model is concerned. That will make your writing precise. That will make your writing exact. For example, an imprecise example would be something like the model improved significantly. I hope you see where the loophole is. Significantly is not a quantifier. It is hardly even a qualifier. A precise version would be the model's accuracy increased from 85% to 92% after hyperparameter tuning. You look at the gap in improvement, you look at the length it has gone to, and you look at the methodology that is being used to improve its accuracy. This is precise writing. Let's look at this precision as a quality within two different kinds of documents: a compliance policy and technical documentation. A compliance policy is a legal document. So, something like all customer data must be anonymized in compliance with GDPR, including removing personally identifiable information such as names, addresses, and social security numbers. It leaves no room for misinterpretation. Everything that we mean when we say customer data has been defined. I would also like you to notice that personally identifiable information, the acronym PII, has been laid out so that there is no scope for miscommunication about what PII means. Ha, I understand. You might have another question. Why is GDPR not laid out? Because that is common knowledge. That is something that within compliance circles, people would know what GDPR means. Let's look at the technical documentation. This is where we use precise metrics. Our logistic regression model achieved an AUC of 0.85, indicating high performance in distinguishing between churn and non-churn cases. Look at the quantifying detail. Look at the function. Both of them are clearly laid out, making it a precise sentence. Here's a quick reflection for you. Why is precision important when presenting data to executives? We have touched upon the importance at the beginning of this conversation. Lay out that idea a little more in detail. Now that you understand what we mean by precision, why do you think it is important when we are communicating data to executives? Here's a little exercise for you as well. Make this sentence more precise. The revenue increased by a large margin after launching the new feature. There are two, as far as I can see, there are two different variables which can be turned more precise. Look for them, bring in precision as we have discussed, and turn it into a more precise sentence. I want to end today's conversation with a general commentary on writing for different audiences. Since clarity, conciseness, and precision are critical in audience analysis, writers must adjust their approach based on who is reading the document. For example, a technical audience might look for communication such as this one. The convolutional neural network achieved 92% accuracy with a 4% false positive rate. This is clear, concise, and precise. And a non technical audience would look for our AI model correctly predicts outcomes in 92 out of 100 cases. Again, clear, concise, and precise. For both different types of audiences, you cannot let go of any of the three qualities. All three are important, all three are essential, and all three make a difference. They make your writing more qualified to be audience centric. Here's a quick exercise for you at the end of today's class. Take any technical explanation that you've written before, rewrite it for a non technical audience while maintaining clarity, conciseness, and precision. We have learned these qualities in detail today, so I hope that we will all be able to implement them in our already pre existing technical explanation. Try it for yourself and see how far you go. That was it from my end. We were discussing the qualities of good writing, particularly clarity, conciseness, and precision. We looked at how they change for technical and non technical audiences. We looked at also how they change across mediums and their requirements. In the next lectures, we will dive even deeper into some more components of audience analysis. Until then, stay curious, keep learning. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaskar.